What's good, YouTube? Today I am continuing my journey of reading through each volume and each season plotline and storyline of Marvel Rivals today with Volume 9, The Mystery of Thebes. And let's get into it. Volume 9, Season 9, The Mystery of Thebes, Evil Under the Moon. Page number 1, let's go. Evil Under the Moon. I'm not used to the silence. Ever since the day Khonshu first chose me to be his fist of vengeance, he's been chattering away inside my head, filling every moment with his demands and his criticisms. I'd gotten used to the constant noise, but the sudden silence, that scared me to death. It all started with a scream. Khonshu called out my name, frantically begging his Moon Knight to come and find him. The rest of what he said after that didn't make much sense, but I eventually put the pieces together and realized that he was in Thebes, which tracks, I guess, since he's the Egyptian god of the moon. Unfortunately, it wasn't the Thebes from my reality that he was in. Sure, they still stood in the same spot, but it was like our Thebes had been painted over with a weirder version. He had crossed over through the divine space into a collapsed timeline he told me about once. Oops, people going dead. Anyways, once a world where the gods were waging war against one another. When Khonshu's ramblings went quiet, I knew I didn't have any choice but to follow. A big chunk of Stephen's money had been frozen while Fisk had the city in his grip. But luckily, Tony Stark owed me a favor after what went down in New York. He gave me a lift free of charge and promised me to keep it quiet. When I arrived in Thebes, I could hear Khonshu again, his commanding voice reduced to a faint whisper. I knew where his temple was in my timeline, so I figured that it might be in the same place here. I was right. Assad was the god whom I devoted my life to serving. Reduced to a trembling heap of bones, Khonshu hid in the corner of his sanctuary, terrified as he clutched into a Senate, Senate board of what seemed to be a bird skull not too different from his own. He looked at the skull and muttered the name Thoth. I instantly knew what that meant, and it wasn't good. Khonshu may have had my patron, but he wasn't the only god in his pantheon. The Enid Thoth was one of his fellow Egyptian deities, another moon god with a focus on wisdom and magic, but now he was dead. From what I could piece together from Khonshu's incoherent ramblings, the rest of the Enid, I don't know how to say that. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Hopefully I'm not butchering it too much. Had died along with Thoth, all by the hand of the same killer, and now it seemed like the God Slayer was looking for Khonshu in an effort to finish the job. Kratos, I'm trying. I tried to get Khonshu back on his feet, but his divine power had been drained. He didn't know how it had happened or who had done it to him. But for all intents and purposes, he was no longer a god at all. Dang, stripped of all his title and all his power. Maybe that was a blessing in disguise, though, as it may have been the one thing that saved him from the same fate as Thoth and the others. I reached out my hand one more time and Khonshu firmly pressed his ankh into it. It was once the vessel where he stored his faith, and he wanted me to use it to recover what had been stolen from him before it was too late. Good thing I knew exactly where to start my search. The strange pyramid with a big blue face looming over Thebes. Just as I gazed toward the pyramid, a surge of energy swept through the city. In the next instant, the energy coalesced, coalesced, that's like that, into a wild storm surrounding Thebes, and there stood the pyramid right in the eye of the storm, and with the cloud of divine energy swirling around its apex. If I was going to get any answers about what was really going on, I knew I'd find them there. So yeah, in this page number one, we see when I get like a little dialogue about him being the Fist of Khonshu, we got chosen to be Fist of Vengeance and whatnot. And now, everything's been going on since season zero. Doom doing his foolishness and the time stream collapsing and then the and them connecting with each other. Moon Knight's in a different reality, and now he's trying to like figure out what's going on with Khonshu because he like since his presidency he like heard a scream from Khonshu, but this technically is not his Khonshu because they're in a different reality. So he's trying to find him. So he's like, okay, so if this pyramid in Thebes is, or Thebes, I keep calling it Thebes, my fault. Thebes is in this area in my timeline, in my reality. So it must be somewhere around here. So he found it. And then he found Khonshu. He's found him in this little dungeon or whatever. Got stripped of his power. Give you out the title of God anymore. He's kind of like this regular old person. And his fellow deity, Thoth, got clapped, got killed. So when I try to investigate what's going on, and he finds Khonshu, and he tries to like reach out to him, try to get him up out of there, and then so he, what's what I'm looking for? He complied. That's what I'm looking for. He complied with Moon Knight, and then so they're trying to figure out what's going on and trying to see why Thoth is dead and why Khonshu is the way he is and not a god anymore. But they think they might understand what's going on. Mr. Godslayer and whatnot. The pyramid that showed up. Page number 2. Death on the Nile. What we have here is a murder, Daredevil said, and until otherwise noted, every single one of us is a suspect. I read this in my other video, but just keep reading it. The assembled heroes stood around Apocalypse's sarcophagus as they considered the events that were rapidly unfolding before them. Thought you were an attorney, Devil, Wolverine snarled. Since when did you become a detective? Since somebody killed my boss, Logan. Jubilee replied, putting a hand on her master's coffin. Apocalypse had a plan that could have saved us all, and now it's spiraling completely out of control. Okay, so Apocalypse was. Oh no, he was a good guy. He was trying to help them. In this timeline, I guess. In this time stream. Whoever wanted him dead had no idea what they were unleashing, or they did when I added, and that's exactly why they offed him. Whatever the case, the X-Men will not be blamed for the death of one of our own, Emma Frost said. We weren't even in the timeline when the incident occurred. I was on Krakoa when using Cerebro to search for mutants scattered across other timelines when I sensed a massive spike in energy, followed by the disappearance of a powerful mutant biosignature. Biosignature, not biosignature. Yeah, biosignature. Naturally, I assembled the X-Men to investigate, but it was already too late. That same energy pulse is what caught my attention as well, Mr. Fantastic said. I gathered those of us who were still in New York and brought them here as soon as I could, but apparently we weren't fast enough. Not gonna lie, Moon Knight said. I was already here, but I was busy dealing with country drama. Whoever's hunting down Apocalypse is probably the same one that killed the rest of his pantheon. I was in the timeline as well, Magic admitted, but I saw Apocalypse as an ally in this eternal war, not an enemy. Okay, so yeah, in this timeline, I guess he's a good guy, or an ally to the X-Men and the mutants. That's cool, I guess. Same here, Jubilee said, sadness washing over her eyes. Truth, trust me, there is no good reason for me to want him dead, not after what he promised me. I could not care less if he lived or died, Loki claimed, but I assure you, it was not Apocalypse himself who brought me to this place. I felt the faith being drained from my very being, so I cast a spell that led me to the source. Thor can attest that for once, I'm not to blame. Much like Loki, Black Panther added, I was sent here by Bast when she realized that someone was siphoning off her spiritual energy. Unfortunately, it seemed as though Apocalypse's demise has only accelerated that problem. The heroes that all gazed up at the swirling storm of divine energy centered above Apocalypse's pyramid. The tempest of pure faith grew more volatile with every moment that passed. Yeah, Jubilee said. I was worried about this. See, when the big blue croaked, his faith harvesting engine became unstable. Its energy is leaking out and forming some kind of barrier around Thebes. Jubilee is correct, Mr. Fantastic said. As far as I can tell, there is no way in or out. We're trapped. Not just that, Emma Frost added. My telepathy isn't working correctly. And we've lost our connection with Krakoa. Dang, that's tough. Which means if one of the X-Men dies here, Wolverine said, there's no coming back. Such is your fate as mortals, Loki scoffed. But the faith that powers me is being stolen at an alarming rate. A god should not be subjected to such indignity. You're not the god I'm worried about, Loki. Dang, I said, yeah, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you. Moon Knight snapped back. Khonshu is fading fast. We need to focus on saving him first. Not while there's still a murderer on the loose, Jubilee said. We stop them, then we resurrect Apocalypse. He's the only one who understands the faith harvesting engine and how to stop it. We do not need Apocalypse, Black Panther suggested. The machine itself is the key. If we study it thoroughly, we can learn how it functions and return the stolen faith to its original sources. Sounds like the best plan, Daryl concluded. Solving Apocalypse's murder is going to have to wait until after we get things under control. Let's just hope we manage to do that before the killer strikes again. So yeah, on page number 2, right here we see that Apocalypse got clapped. We saw it in the opening cinematic for you after you press start and blowing up the aim. So he got clapped, and they kept it a mystery for a while. Then they turned into like a little, we'll call it mini game, like kind of like a side thing that you can do after you kind of like a word search thing. Is like okay, and you're supposed to like piece the words together on the thing. I made the other video. You can watch it if you want to. But yeah, they murder mystery type of thing is going on right now, and everyone's trying to see like, oh, who did it? Who killed Apocalypse? And then they see like the whole faith harvesting engine is collapsing because it's not being monitored, and then Apocalypse, he is the only one that knows how it works. So now the energy is just like swirling above their heads, and then they're trying to find out the murderer, and they're trying to see if they can bring Apocalypse back, if they need him. And then there are like some people like, oh no, we don't really need Apocalypse. You got the selfish people like Loki right there. So I don't care about none of y'all. I don't know gods. I'm the only god over here that is of importance. I don't care about none of this. And then Moon Knight's trying to figure out what happened to Khonshu's fellow deities and trying to see what happened to Khonshu himself. Trying to see why he's just normal now, not a god anymore. And yeah, murder mystery ordeal is going on right now. Page number 3. Uh-oh. The body in the Lazarus chamber. It ain't easy to kill me. It's even harder to keep me dead once you do. Guess that's one of the benefits of having a healing factor as one of my mutant powers. But whoever took me out this time made sure they finished the job. And with Krakoa's resurrection protocols offline, they almost did me in for good. But they didn't know Jubilee had gotten her hands on some of Apocalypse's death seeds. So now that she's brought me back to life as a horseman of death, someone's going to have to answer to the Wolverine just as soon as I can remember who the heck they are. Here's what I do remember. The rest of the superhero set was going around in endless circles as they tried to figure out what to do with Apocalypse's faith harvesting engine. We were getting nowhere, and I was getting tired of all the yapping, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. So while they all bickered over a steel egg, draining the gods dry, I went to the spot where Jubilee had dragged Apocalypse's corpse following his untimely demise, the Lazarus chamber. Usually, that was where the big fellow went to recover when he was on the brink of death, but this time it didn't do him any good. Instead of bringing him back to life, it ended up being his final resting place, and apparently it was almost mine. As soon as I saw Apocalypse's body, I knew something was off. I popped a claw and dragged it across his gray skin, only to discover that he didn't have a single drop of blood left in him. That's when things started getting hazy. I vaguely remember being ambushed by someone familiar, someone I trusted, but then everything went blazing red before it suddenly faded to darkness. The others say that when they found me, my body was drained of blood, too, since there was only 2 vampires on the scene, and Blade had been with the other heroes the entire time. All eyes fell on Jubilee. I ain't buying it, though. I've known her since she was a kid, and she never tried to hurt someone she loved. And if she did, she sure as heck wouldn't have brought him back. But maybe something inside her changed when Apocalypse made her one of his horsemen. I've been there before, and it brought out the worst in me. As tough as I trained her to be, it still might not have been enough to keep her from giving it into her darkest, most godly mode. Anyway, Blade's in full vampire hunting mode, ready to drive a stake through the kid's heart without any proof she did the deed. He claims she killed Apocalypse, then tried to cover it up by killing me when I got too close to the truth. Now Emma and Daredevil are grilling me for answers, and all I got is this nagging feeling that there's a heck of a lot more going on in his nightmare of a timeline that any of us have even started to realize. So we got this little in this page. we see Wolverine kind of narrating everything that's been going on with the hero splitting up, trying to figure out why Apocalypse died, and then Wolverine he's investigating Apocalypse's body himself, and then he said he used his claws against his skin, and then he seen that he had no blood anymore. Then he said like Apocalypse uses his sarcophagus to heal himself, or his little tomb in the background right there to heal himself, but then he didn't help him. He just died anyway, and he didn't have any blood. And then after Wolverine discovered that, somebody ambushed him, and then they killed him. And then Wolverine's like, it's like somebody I trusted though, so I don't know why they would do that. Then some people are saying, oh, well, there's only two vampires here, so. And then Wolverine kind of gave Blade the alibi. It was like he was with the Hell Hero, so it couldn't have been him. Then he's also giving Jubilee the alibi. He's like, well, I knew her since she was little, and she would not hurt anybody that she knew and she loved. So she wouldn't kill me like that, and then she wouldn't bring me back. What's the point? That made no sense. And then we see Bucky right here, which, well, sus, why are you right here? And why is your arm glowing with the red lightning or stuff? Wolverine's dead in front of you. Kind of crazy. Bucky, we looking at you sideways. Looking at you sideways. I mean, what's going on? Why you do this? Anyways, yep. Wolverine got clapped, and they brought him back as a horseman. And page number 4, Psylocke. She got clapped. See what's going on. The butterfly trap. I did not think I would ever see my homeland again after I was stolen from my reality by Deadpool and delivered to the collector's gallery. I had every reason to believe that the timeline from which I hailed had ceased to be. Sai, the fabled demon hunter, and had truly become a Ronin, a warrior without a home. Yet suddenly there I was once more in the forest of Mount Shiaru, 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 Shiaru. So say Shirayu for this Mortal Kombat. With my trusty wolf Logan by my side, it was like a dream come true. But as with all dreams, it came to an end and left me with more questions than answers. I have long relied upon the uncanny power of my mind to guide me, both through battle and through life. But this day I fear my memories have betrayed me. I recall only fragments of the events that occurred, and even those leave me with a strange sense of uncertainty. What I do recall is this: I had come to this desert wasteland along with my allies, these new kin who called me Mutant and Sister the X-Men from their island nation of Krakoa. When we arrived, we discovered that one of their own in Sabanor, I love saying his name, so I want to say, the mighty Apocalypse had been struck down by an unknown assailant. It was not long before suspicious glances became accusations. False accusations. There's accusation. Hoping to uncover the truth, I tapped into my ability to summon the spirits, a skill that I acquired from my Shigori friends long ago. But I could not commune with Apocalypse. All I sensed were faint traces of undead energy. When I followed the trail toward Apocalypse's corpse, that is when everything began to unravel. As I stepped across the threshold of the Lazarus chamber, I found myself instantly transported back to the world I once knew. I was certain that it must be an illusion, but if it was, whoever had cast it was truly skilled in the art of deception. Even my telepathy could not seem to break through the mirage. I took a deep breath of the crisp mountain air, glad to be home at least, and then a sharp pain pierced my chest, an arrow shot by an unseen attacker. As I fell to the ground, grasping for my final breaths, deep purple stained the snow-covered mountainside, and then the only color that remained was black. Eternal peace was not yet mine to claim, however. Another of the X-Men, Jubilee, had devoted herself to Apocalypse's service. Employing one of her master's death seeds, she restored my life. But the memories of what had occurred had been damaged along the way. Even with the help of another telepath, Emma Frost, we have been unable to piece together the full picture, and now my experience is fueling more speculation amongst my allies. The one calling Dazan seems genuine in his desire to uncover the truth. I feel I can trust him to separate fact from fabrication, and others are far more eager to cast blame in order to identify the killer among us. Some suspect Magic as the culprit due to her skills as a sorceress supreme and her direct connection to the undead as the Queen of Limbo. But I have no desire to point my finger or my sword at the woman who once fought on my side against Ultron. All will be revealed in time, but I fear it may not be before another shares my fate. Oops. So in this picture, it's beautiful icon. This artwork is fire. She saw like got clapped, possibly by the same person or a different murderer or killer. And, her blood has this like cool purple effect. Comes like gas. And got Daredevil over there on the right. And oh yeah, important to her like her butterfly wings that she has. This fire I love the artwork. It's so cool. And on the right you have Daredevil, because she talked about the one they called his own Daredevil. He's trying to like he's basically the detective in all this, trying to uncover who did it. And then she got Magic on the left because she said people are blaming Magic because she has a sword too. And then the thing that killed Psylocke right here on her chest was like a blade or a sword or something. So they're suspecting Magic, thinking that might be her. She's like the only one that has a sword, other than Psylocke. So yeah, Blaze with the other heroes, so couldn't be him. I guess. I guess Magic was around Psylocke at this point. But yeah, she's been in her past. Awesome. She would come back home, or she would find another place to call home. And then she met the X-Men, and then she fought alongside them. She called her sister, and she found her new home and her new family. Then she got clapped by somebody. We don't know who yet. Who did it yet? But yeah, everybody pointing fingers at each other, blaming each other. So oh no, he did it, she did it, they did it over there. No, he did it. No, I swear he did it over there. Man, she's so sus right there. I swear she did it. Everybody trying to uncover the truth. Everyone trying to have their names cleared as a suspect, but it's just adding more fuel to the fire, making things more complicated. But yeah, so I got clapped. She's the second victim, or technically the third victim, counting Apocalypse. Wolverine. But yeah, page number 5, panel number 1. So again, we got clapped next. Let's see what's going on. Cards on the table. So y'all are probably wondering how your boy Remy LeBeau got himself into this mess. Well, send on back and let Remy tell you the story, or at least the parts of it I know. All the heroes gathered here in Thebes were distracted not just by Apocalypse's murder, but by the fact that Logan and Psy had both met their own unexpected ends in the very same room where Apocalypse's body was found, the Lazarus Chamber. Obviously, Me decided to, or Ms. Me, decided to stand guard and make sure that no one else came in or out of there until the case was solved. But Gambit wasn't just here to track down the killer targeting his fellow X-Men. None mercy. I had business to take care of, Thieves Guild business. Remember that ancient stone that Black Cat delivered to the Kingpin back in New York? Tablet of Life and Time? Season 8 callback? Yeah. What you might, or season 7, season 8? Which one was it? No, season 8. Season 8. Well, what you might not know is that it's one of a pair. Its counterpart, the Tablet of Death of Entropy, was rumored to be just as powerful. And it ain't happened to be in Apocalypse's possession. The cat offered me a handsome sum to track it down and bring it back to her. No one questioned that. No questions asked. So when we all raced off to Thebes on another grand adventure, I figured I'd be able to kill two birds with one stone. Never expected for a second I was going to be one of the birds getting killed. I found a secret passage that let me sneak past the guards at the door of the chamber. I was about to start my search of the tablet. But as soon as I got near Apocalypse's lifeless body, I felt something strange inside of me. Pause. See, I've always been sensitive to energy, no matter what form it may take, potential, kinetic, or you name it. But there is a special kind of energy I don't feel all too often. Pure cosmic energy. That's only generated by a true force of nature, like the phoenix. And for some reason, the big fella's body was still crackling with it. Obviously, I went to take a closer look. Big mistake. Before I knew what was happening, the party was over. Someone had gotten there to jump on me, which ain't an easy thing to do. And it was lights out. A Bourbon Street. Came back to life for too long, thanks to Jubilation and her death seed. only to learn that I was struck down by someone who could tap into cosmic energy just like Apocalypse before me. Of course, folks here are already casting blame on each other. People think it might have been the Black Panther using the last traces of the Phoenix for stealing the weapons. Shuri was apparently researching on Clintar to protect the faith of his Panther God. But I got no reason to believe T'Challa would do me like that still. Somebody did it to me, and it's inside my Noir. And whoever it was has access to the power way beyond this world. Till we find out who that somebody is, Gambit's got a feeling ain't none of us gonna be safe. So yeah, in this page, this panel right here, Gambit got clapped. He's the next victim, and yeah, he said he was searching around on Apocalypse's body, and then he felt cosmic energy come from him. And then as he was like searching around investigating, he got clapped, and then we see he got bullet holes around him and on his chest filled with fire, and then he felt the cosmic energy from that. And then whoever shot him, you know who it is yet, left his body there, and then Emma found him, and then she's trying to see what's going on with him. And now people are, casting blame, like once again, the other three victims casting blames on each other, saying, "Oh, this person did that. This person did it. He did it. She did it. All of them. No. I swear he did it over there. Like he's so sus over there. I know he did it. I know she did it. They doing all that, who and hollering. You know what I mean?" And yeah, Gambit got clapped. People are blaming Black Panther because some type of technology that he had from Shuri, from Clintar, to help Bass come back to her normal self back in season 3, season 2, season 1. It's one of the early seasons where Bass got mind controlled or whatever, and then she got taken, and then she started like being evil or whatever. Then so they had to go to Clintar and stop. Was that season 3? It might be season 3. I think it was season 3 because that was the whole like Clintar and symbiote season. Everyone's least favorite season, even though I thought season was kind of cool. Bad Pass was fire. But yeah, if you like season 3, because of Blade and but whatever. Back on topic. Gambit got clapped. People pointing fingers again. People are blaming Black Panther because some type of technology that Shuri made, and I guess it had pure cosmic energy. And so yeah, that's what clapped Blade, or not Blade, that's what clapped Gambit. And yeah, pointing the blame at the black man. Anyways, panel number 2. What's going on with this? I think this is my first time reading this page right here. Sometimes things don't go according to plan. I mean, bueno, here I am, Parker Robbins, the next-gen crime lord better known as the Hood, stuck in the middle of Egypt in some kind of alternate timeline. I'm a long way from the Bronx, and I couldn't be further from my comfort zone. Well, I guess that's not entirely true. I'm a prisoner again, and after my stay in the vault, I started getting used to that. This time, it ain't El Gordo who put me on lockdown. It was a group of heroes, including Captain America himself. The same guy who swore he'd have my back when his cell was next to mine. Never meet your heroes, am I right? Apparently he and his buddies seem to think I came here to kill him, when all I really hoped to do was to get my hands on the tablet of death entropy. People were already dying left and right without my help, so it didn't really matter if I added another life to the count. They just used the magic seed to bring him back anyway. I snuck in and took. Okay, so he's definitely talking about Gambit. Took out the red eye Cation, yep, and got to Loon, mainly to get what the fellow who enchanted my cloak wanted. Turns out heroes don't like the idea of someone like me having this much power in their hands. Or maybe it was the near death experience. I gave that payaso. So when they caught me red-handed, I gave the ancient chunk of stone back, told them I didn't even need it anymore, and showed them a neat trick. The tablet could let me talk to the dead, and the dead have a lot to say. Just gotta scroll down. There we go. Wait, too far. Moon Knight didn't trust me at first. Apparently, he recognized me from some gang I was a part of a while back. But then I told him what the tablet had told me in the brief time I had my hands on it. The story of a long suffering yet oh, devout disciple who transformed his devotion to the gods itself a fierce hatred that drove him to hunt him down. Apparently that rang a bell. He wanted to learn more so he could find out if this was the same killer who had taken out his boss's friends. I reminded Moon Knight that, just like me, he'd been chosen to represent a higher power. That meant he could probably commune with the tablet in the same way I did. Didn't expect he could use it better though. But I guess that tracks me and Big O are still in guild and acquainted. Oh, I hate that nickname. It brings back memories like school. Anyways, the second he started muttering some ancient rite, dozens of spirits appeared crying out for vengeance. Finally, all those voices that had been howling from the heart of the faith storm started making sense. Some were singing praises of Apocalypse, while others were accusing him of committing unforgivable crimes. But even I could tell that what they were saying didn't quite add up. There were spirits of beings from other worlds blaming Apocalypse of summoning the tides of to crush him and claiming he bloated out their sons, leaving them to die in the endless winter. I knew the old user was powerful, but as far as I knew, his methods of genocide were way more direct. So he is evil. But it didn't matter. The chaos was just the kind of distraction I'd been hoping for all along. I grabbed the tablet, blasted my way out of captivity, and used the power of my cloak to vanish from their sight. Oh, oh, computer died. Not sure Moon Knight even noticed, but by the time rushed out to fall to the fall, Cap rushed out to follow had already long gone. I was already long gone. Headed back to BX with my prize in hand. Like I said, sometimes things don't go according to plan, but this job ain't one of them. Okay, so we see here in this page, Park Robbins announces himself and reveals himself. Like, oh, I killed Gambit, and I'm here to get the Tablet of Death and Entropy. And yeah, we see all the souls that have been killed and claimed by Apocalypse. I thought, from the other pages that he was a good guy in this timeline. Maybe he's different from Apocalypse that everyone else knows. The evil nemesis of the X-Men. All that. But yeah, I guess we found out that he's been committing genocide and taking out people's sons or bodying out their sons, or whatever that means. And now they're being summoned with the tablet, I guess by accident maybe. And now they're all like angry. All the other souls are angry at him and like pointing their fingers at him, being mad and yelling at him because of what he did. And Park Robbins is narrating everything that's been going down. He's like, "Oh yeah, I was in a gang before. Moon Knight remembers me from there, and he took me down one time." And Park Robbins is like, he's my hero, and like we were locked in a cell next to each other, and he's like, "I got your back no matter what." And then apparently he didn't. And he left him in the cell, or he just put him there himself. I don't know. And I think that maybe that was from season 8 when they were all locked up, probably in the Kingpin's martial law thing when he was going on in season 8. But yeah, all the souls are coming out of the tablet, as you can see right here, and they are angry at Apocalypse for killing them and taking out their sons. So yeah, final panel right here. What's going on? Oh, whoops, one thing. And then there were none. This is your chance, Khonshu. When I said I brought you the Faith Harvesting Engine, and I beat down every single hero who tried to stand in my way. I proved my devotion to you. Now it's your turn to prove yourself to me. I have nothing to prove, my son, Khonshu snarled. Have I not given you everything? Everything except answers. Ooh, he narcissistic. He trying to victim blame. Moon Knight responded, the officers have all been talking, and we agree that something's off here. Show us we're wrong. All you have to do is absorb the faith and ascend to reassure us that we have no reason to doubt. I would, Khonshu said, hesitation in his voice. But first, my son, you need to channel the faith devoted to me, to the moon, and to the Ankh. I will draw from it the strength that is right for me. No more, no less. I want the truth, Khonshu. Moon Knight snorted. What is it you seek to drain? The power, the pure faith left in the engine, or the resentment against you within the amulet? Resentment? Has your madness finally consumed you, Mark Spector? Khonshu retorted sharply. The only resentment I bear now comes from you and your ungrateful accusations. More excuses, Moon Knight said. His frustration growing. It's almost like you know what's coming for you, and I guess you should. After all, it's one of the things you're the god of. And what is that, my avatar, Khonshu asked. Vengeance, Moon Knight replied, anger in his voice. Who would seek vengeance against me, Khonshu questioned. The millions of lives you snuffed out, Moon Knight said. Blasphemer, Khonshu exclaimed, but how dare you accuse me of such atrocities? It took me a while to put it together. Moon Knight replied, like most followers, my devotion blinded me, but once I used the tablet of life, the tablet of death and entropy, once I heard what those poor lost souls had to say, I realized that you were the only one powerful enough to unleash this kind of carnage, and the only one cruel enough to sacrifice entire civilizations to save your own your bony A. You have no proof, Khonshu said, but I have the facts. Okay, so wait, so Khonshu was the one to kill those people? Or did Khonshu kill his own people and Apocalypse killed his own people? Not his own people, but he killed those the other civilization people. I'm confused. Anyways, let's be on. You thought clawing your way out of the divine space, hiding in Thebes. Oh, wait, no, go back. You have no proof, Khonshu said, but I have the facts, Moonlight replied. You knew who was coming to kill you all along. You thought clawing your way out of the divine space and hiding in Thebes of some distant this universe would buy you time before we ever caught your trail. But you never expected that what lay, golly, I'm pushing this, and wait for you was another doom. A mutant warlord poised to drain the faith from every god and leave you all mortal, with nowhere left to run. You actually came up with a plan, one that would turn the assassin's blade away from you and bury it in the mutant stealing that faith instead. So you committed mass genocide on several moon-bearing worlds and turned their faith into resentment. So okay, so it's time for okay, so Khonshu killed everybody. Okay, just in time for Apocalypse to absorb it all without ever knowing, without ever knowing what he was talking in. All the words would that had long praised you or exalted Apocalypse. No, it's out of okay, and just like that, all the curses freshly spat at you rained down on Apocalypse too. Okay, so people thought Apocalypse killed them, but it was actually Khonshu that killed him. That's what I'm getting from this. You knew the Godslayer wouldn't be able to resist hunting a deity who had deliberately slaughtered his followers, which made Apocalypse his prime target. And just to be safe, you sacrificed your own godhood to fly under the radar in feigned innocence. Then you left me to do your dirty work, hoping I recover the faith harvesting engine and extract the resentment for you without any question. Just like the skulls I cracked in your name, the creatures of the night, former humans, I saw it because you demanded it. So, for all the blood you put on my hands, how many really had it coming? And how many died for nothing but a pretext for sacrifice in your name? How many, you bird faced metomaniac? Face it, he's not going to answer you, but don't worry, we all can make him squawk together, Jubilee said, with a fanged smile as she had the other three horsemen of death join Moonlight, rushing toward Khonshu, ready to attack. Khonshu, whose divine power had not been restored, knew he stood no chance against the heroes. In desperation, he reached out to the faith harvesting engine and, disregarding the resentment within it, began to absorb the faith energy. He was wagering that he could endure what had already destroyed Apocalypse. A surging, ferocious wave of faith energy erupted from the engine, tearing apart the temple around them and continuously flooding into Khonshu's body. Channeling the power of countless gods, Khonshu easily repelled the approaching heroes. My fist, Khonshu yelled. Don't you see it? The death of they need is the beginning, and the twilight of the gods. All will become a black universe of starless night where nothing remains but the face of the void. I must not die. The moon must not die. It is my duty and my very essence to illuminate the night. And when that faded long darkness falls at last, my moonlight shall be the final dawn the newest universe will ever know. Sacrifices were made, true, but they were a necessary evil, purified or not. This faith will make me the most powerful god that ever was. A new moon is rising, Mark. Together we could erase all evil from existence. If you chose wisely, I already did, Moon Knight said, struggling back to his feet, ready for round two, but at that moment a dark blade sliced through the mystical barrier surrounding Thebes. Through it emerged a pale warrior. That's my goal with a sword as black as the eternal void, just like every other god, he said, with disdain. Your greed and arrogance will be your knowing. Come gold. With that, he impaled Khonshu with his ebony sword. The moon god howled in pain as his mysterious assailant grabbed hold of him, and the faith harvesting engine dragging them both back to the barrier before he vanished. The hooded assailant left the heroes with a parting message as he staggered into the storm. All gods must die. Hmm. There's so much going on this page. So let me see if I can remember correctly. So they Moon Knight had this little whole dialogue with Khonshu about him returning back to them, being on the good side and whatnot, and the right side good, or just the heroes. You were on the right side of the heroes. And then Khonshu wasn't having. He was like, Nah, no. I owe nothing to you. You are my fist of vengeance. So I owe nothing to you. You are everything to me. If it wasn't for me, you would have this power in general. You would not be an avatar. And so they're going back and forth. And then, truth comes to light that Khonshu was the one that killed everybody and used that and everything else to basically put himself out of the way of being killed by everybody else. So yeah, if it comes found out that he, I guess, was the one that killed everybody, and all the souls that were blaming Apocalypse were wrong, apparently. And then so after that, the engine became unstable, so he was waiting for the engine to become unstable so he could gain the power from that, I believe. And now they're all figuring out, okay, so Khonshu was the one behind all this. He's not a good person. He's not a good being. He's not a good god. And then so yeah, Moon Knight, everyone's rushing in to take him down. Everybody has died, and he's not back at 100% yet. So now everyone's like they're trying to charge him, take him down. But then he finally got all the energy and the power from the faith harvesting machine, and then so he basically repelled everybody back. And yeah, then Moon Knight and Khonshu have like a whole other dialogue. They're yelling at each other, going back and forth like, "Hey, you're a bad person." Like, yeah, I know. And then he's like, "You don't deserve the title of God." And then Moon Knight's like, "How dare you?" And then like, Khonshu's like, "No, how dare you defy me? You're God. You're my avatar and whatnot." I'm paraphrasing, but that's what's going on. And then as they're talking, the goat comes in. Gore, the God Butcher himself, right there. I guess that's his like face right here. They're like a silhouette face. And then so everybody's basically, I guess, like on the ground or just they're dazed because they got repelled by Khonshu. And then Gore comes up behind Khonshu and then he stabs him. We see that in the ending, the outro cinematic in the Thebes map. Like if you win or lose, it's one of the cinematics that we see that Gore comes behind Khonshu, he stabs him. And yeah, Gore he sees like the era of the gods and whatnot, kind of like a God of War fans, Kratos kind of. People who don't know Gore is, I guess it's kind of like who Gore is. He does like the gods, and he's basically devoted himself to killing all the gods or any god that he sees or he knows of. And yeah, Khonshu was one of his victims. All his killing in this in the season, golly, all his killing and murdering in this season. Holy, but yeah, guessing Gore is going to be the antagonist of season 10, most likely. I want him to be a playable character, but take what I can get. I'll take what I can get. So yeah, Khonshu was the one that was orchestrating everything. So people got clapped because of him. His fellow deities got clapped because of him. While he's trying to fly under the radar and not be seen, and then use the harvesting engine to gain his power back as a god. But yeah, that is season 9, volume 9, The Mystery of Thebes. Let me know what y'all thought about the season. Let me know what y'all thought about this volume. Pretty good. I like this new span that they did with this season about the whole murder mystery thing with different heroes in Apocalypse. Even though I did much prefer Apocalypse be like a villain, villain, and them fighting him when he was in this game. But I was like, okay, I do like the spin, but I definitely wish they could have used somebody else in his place and made Apocalypse like an actual threat instead of just having him be a lifeless body this whole season. But it was cool. I like it. Let me not sure about the story and the plotline of where it's going. Pretty sure season 10. Don't know where we're gonna go location wise in season 10. Maybe like Valhalla or something, or maybe Asgard, back to Asgard or something like that, or a whole different place maybe. But yeah, it looks like Gore is gonna be the next antagonist or the villain in season 10. So can't wait to see what they do with him. But yeah, that is season 9 Morgan, Mr. Thebes. And I'm done chatting. I'm out.